Hey everyone, welcome to Dad's Den of Pop Culture. Talking today about The Hitch-Hiker, 1953 film, co-written and directed by Ida Lupino, co-written with her husband at the time, Collier Young, based on the story of a spree killer, Billy Cook. He went on a killing spree in 1950. Not a fun story. Murdered people. He took a couple hunters, prospectors hostage, trying to flee into Mexico, was ultimately caught by the Mexican police in Santa Rosalina. And at the time, they did not have an extradition treaty with the United States. So the Mexican police literally drove this dude, because he had committed the crimes in the United States, not in Mexico, drove the dude to the border, physically pushed him over the border, where American law enforcement immediately arrested him. He was tried, convicted. He was put to death in the gas chamber. In December of 1952, it was just 3 months later that this film was released. So we are going to be dealing with some spoilers today. And we're going to be dealing with what is called the first film noir with a female director, Ida Lupino. She had done some directing up until this point. In fact, the first movie she directed was one where her and her husband had a production company. The director had to drop out of the movie, so she had to step in and finish the direction. She had done a few movies up until this point that were more emotional dramas, if you will, sort of social movies, probably more for a female audience. I actually just watched one a week or so ago called Hard, Fast, and Beautiful, which I know some of you out there might be thinking, whoa, no, it's about a teenage girl who is a very good amateur tennis player, gets into the amateur tennis world. Her mother is sort of the stage mother type, pushing for her to go higher and make more money, yada, yada, yada. Anyways, a drama, essentially, and not a bad drama. This one a little bit different. This is a movie that would typically, you would expect to be directed by a man in those days, because it's about manly stuff like, shooting people and walking out in the desert. Any rate. So 1953 stars William Tallman as this psychotic killer, Emmett Myers. Now, Tallman is best known really as Hamilton Berger on Perry Mason. Very different role for him here, and he is quite good in it. He's kind of a scary dude. Edmund O'Brien plays Roy Collins, one of the men who's taken hostage, essentially, by this guy. The other, Gilbert Bowen, played by Frank Lovejoy. O'Brien is a friggin' legend, especially in film noir crime films. The Killers, White Heat, DOA, good stuff. Lovejoy was primarily a radio actor, did some soap opera stuff, played the Blue Beetle, the original Blue Beetle, Dan Garrett, in 1940 on the radio. Did episodes of Suspense. He did some movies, had the lead in the film noir Try and Get Me in 1950. Maybe that led to his casting in this one. Passed away from a heart attack in 1962, so died somewhat young. Director of photography was Nicholas Masaraca, and it was shot primarily in California, although the movie is set primarily in Baja, California. So the movie opens with this. This is the true story of a man and a gun in a car. The gun belonged to the man. The car might have been yours, or that young couple across the aisle. What you will see in the next 70 minutes could have happened to you, for the facts are actual and, okay, obviously adapted. It's based on a story by a blacklisted writer, Daniel Mainwaring. It was adapted by Robert L. Joseph and then turned into a screenplay by Ida Lupino and her husband. But the point is taken. It is a film noir. It's about, two men who have made one bad judgment that leads into this whole series of events. So there is the film noir aspect of the film. But there's more to it than just that. So, The Hitchhiker, like I said, Edmund O'Brien, Frank Lovejoy, William Tallman. We'll go through a little bit of the credits. You can see some of the names of the people involved. So as the credits are rolling, we see a car who's picked up a hitchhiker. Oh, Christian Nyby. That's a name to look for, too. A lot of TV, a lot of great TV. And then we see this man getting out of the car, picking up a purse, the remains, out of a purse produced by Collier Young, directed by Ida Lupino. And we see what's left in the car, a couple who has been shot, a sheriff looking over the scene. We get some newspapers, couple found murdered, nationwide search for hitchhike slayer, ex-convict Myers, suspect in hitchhike atrocities. To me, the difference between a crime film and a mystery film, well, you can tell from the name mystery. Mystery films, you don't know who done it. Crime films, you know full well who done it, and it's the process of maybe how they did it, maybe how they were caught, mostly how they were caught, the psychology of the criminal, etc. And that's what we're dealing with here is a crime film. We then see that shadow on a car, and once again, somebody has fallen prey to this man. We then pick it up with our two heroes, Roy Collins and Gilbert Bowen. Now, they're from El Centro, California, which is just over the border from Mexicali. Couple guys. This is post-war. These are guys. Well, one of them, the driver there, Roy has a wife. Gilbert has a wife and kids. They're going on a hunting trip, and maybe they've decided to go down to Mexicali for a little bit of the nightlife. And we get them driving through Mexicali. Gilbert apparently, though, has maybe decided that's kind of a bad idea. You see some street scenes, and at one point they pull up to a sort of a strip joint. Guy saying, come in, and, we have this, we have that, the other. Roy kind of is, hey, you want to, and Gilbert's, nah. Roy's a little annoyed as they pull out of Mexicali, going down into Mexico, where they're going to go ahead and finish their fishing trip. And they come upon a car on the side of the road and a hitchhiker. They pull up, great shot, by the way, in silhouette, the thumb, the car background. And they pick this guy up. And you see him initially in shadow back there. They say, yeah, we'll take you to the next town. You can get some gasoline. You can hitchhike your way back to your car. And then he pulls the gun. And they know they're in trouble. So a common trope in film noir is otherwise good men who make a lapse of judgment, take a little walk onto the dark side. In this case, there may be, let's go to Mexicali and get into a little trouble and drink. They think better of it, but had they not, they wouldn't have run in to Emmett Meyer, who was heading down through Mexico to try to escape the law in the United States. Of course, you could also argue if they'd stopped at the strip joint, they probably wouldn't have been captured by him as well. So maybe they should have gone a little further into the dark side. So Emmett Meyer reveals himself. Now, what we're going to get here is like the road trip from hell. He's hijacking them. He wants to go down further south in Mexico, maybe even wants to get out of Mexico. But the point is, he wants to stay away from the United States. And he's going to use them to do it. And so you get a lot of tense scenes for these guys. And this is where yes, it's a film noir. It's also a survival film. And you might initially think, okay, we're going to do something about these guys trying to escape, trying to get away from him. There's a little bit of that. But it's also a little bit of a psychological thriller, or at least a psychological study in these men and who they are. So at one point he pulls them over, gets them out, letting him know what's up, and letting him know, get back in the car, we're going south. We get a look at this guy, and Tallman's great in the role. He's got this paralyzed eye. This is not a nice man. This is not a good man. This is not a man who necessarily took a wrong step in life. Although they do talk a little bit about, at least he does, my parents didn't care about me. Nobody loved this ugly mug ever. But you also get the feeling this is a guy with more than just a chip on his shoulder. This is a guy that likes dominating people and threatening people. So while this is going on, we're also seeing a little bit about what's going on in the United States and Mexico in terms of trying to find this killer. Now, at one point, they stop at a gas station. We learn right there that Meyer does not speak Spanish, or as he says, Mexican, and does not like the fact that Gilbert doesn't trust him. So Gilbert's talking to this gas station attendant in Spanish, and he don't talk Mexican. It's the guy's like, well, the guy doesn't speak English. I don't really have a choice. They get through the gas station. They head on, and we get one of the early stopping points for a rest or so. So they got a map at the gas station, and this is where he points out he wants to go to Santa Rosalia. He can pick up a ferry there to go across to Guaymas, and that's going to be the target that they're going for. And I actually looked it up because I'm like, I don't know if that's really a place or not. I looked it up on Google Maps. It is, in fact, a real place, Santa Rosalia. And so he's letting him know what's going to happen. They're going to take him there. And there's a little moment here where he takes a shot at a rabbit that was hopping by. I don't know if he thought maybe they could eat it or something, or if he just wanted to kill it. Given his psychology, he might have just wanted to kill it. So Roy makes a smart remark about him missing, and this is a bad idea. And this kind of is setting up Roy where he's moving in this movie, and Emmett where he is and what he is. He says, here, take this can, go stand over there. He makes Roy stand with the can. Sorry. There we go. Oh, got it. Holds the can, shoots the can out of his hand. And here where we go, okay, he's pissed that the guy said something to him. He's showing off. He's threatening him. Then he tells Gilbert, here, you a good shot? You take a try at it. And so they have Roy put this can on this rock. And I think actually this might still be Emmett shooting at it, but he gives the gun to Gilbert. Okay, you're going to do it while your friend is holding the can. All right, obviously this is a very wicked thing to do. You're putting this man in a position that he could kill his own friend. Very tense, and you see the smile on his face. He likes dominating people. He likes threatening people, and he holds no other life other than his own with any value whatsoever. So he's holding the can. Very tense. At one point, Roy is like, Gilbert, just do it, because he can't stand the tension. Again, important character point. We're going to be taking the measure of these two men on the trip south. Takes aim. I love this particular shot, the way they set it up. It's obviously somebody in the foreground with the screen in the background, but it's a really good shot. And he takes aim, sweats a little bit. This is where the Roy's getting a little bit, will you just do it already? Like, I'd blow my hand off if you have to. I don't really care. And so he finally takes the shot and does, in fact, blow the can out of his hand. Doesn't hurt his friend. But again, each of these little moments that we're going to get is going to be showing who these men are, as well as advancing the story. You're going to find early on, Roy is more prone to want to just like, let's jump him, let's run away. And Gilbert has a cooler head. While they're driving on, they're listening to the radio. Emmett is hearing that the authorities don't think he's in Mexico. He's feeling a lot better about that. They camp out for the night. You see these two guys kind of wrapped up in their blanket with him watching them. And he says, because of his paralyzed eye, you don't know if I'm asleep or not. That eye's always open. So he's kind of staring at them all night. You can see Roy is looking, can I get away? It's a good scene. They next end up in this little grocery store where, again, he doesn't want them speaking Spanish. They're trying to pick up groceries, beans, soup, etc., that they're going to need for this trip. There's a little girl there. Gilbert's obviously tense. He knows he's got this guy who's crazy with a gun. There's a little girl there. He tries to show some kindness to her. Emmett kind of looking, sneering at these two guys. They pick up these groceries. The little girl tries to get Emmett's attention, and he just, he doesn't want anything to do with another human being. And Gilbert shows kindness to her, and Emmett's kind of like perplexed, like he doesn't get it. And as they're leaving, this old fella, he does speak English, notices the license plate, El Centro, and says, "Oh, I live there sometimes." This is going to be an important point in the whole catching the criminal bit, because it's somebody who's now seen this trio of men, has seen the license plate, knows where they're from. So again, on Google Maps, if you look, at this point, going from Mexicali down to Santa Rosalia is like a 9-hour trip nowadays. It's going to take several days for these folks. So we get another scene of them camping, and Roy is like, we got to get out of it. We got to make a move. We got to try to get out of here. He's just, for one thing, Emmett has basically stolen the watch from Gilbert, throw me your watch, that kind of thing. He's just, again, showing his dominance over these two, showing his contempt for them. They're soft. They have families. They're not willing to do what he's willing to do. And you could tell that Roy he's in a bad way. He doesn't have the nerves for this. Gilbert, way more cool, and he's trying to say, listen. We try to get away right now, he's going to shoot us. We don't have a chance. Play it cool. Wait for the opportunity. And again, just sheer contempt for them. They move on over the day, and they decide they need to try to disable the radio, because if he finds out that the cops are on his trail in this car, he's going to want to abandon it, and he's going to kill them. So to stay alive. So they fake something with the horn. They try to get in under the hood. He's watching them. He's very cagey. There's a guy with a donkey, firewood, walking by. They get back in. Again, Roy makes some remark, and he gets a pistol whipped in the neck, knocks him out. Roy's taken most of the abuse at this point, and this is going to play on his character. We then flash to the Mexican police and the American authorities, and they've kind of picked up the trail and believe that they are headed for Santa Rosalia, so he can get to Guaymas. So they're starting to figure things out and sort of close in on him. At one point, they see a car coming. He has everybody flattened down. They watch the car go by. Again, Roy at this point is getting more defiant. Emmett's getting angrier at him, but also, I think, enjoying dominating him. They have to change a tire. A couple drives by in the car. Once again, we have a point of contact. They're not allowed to speak to these people. But as they move on, they run into a police car, let this guy know what they've seen. So they're starting to close in now. But what's interesting is Roy and Gilbert don't know this. We know it. They don't know it. So they're still in that survival mode. We wait this guy out. We wait for our moment. But they also know this guy's kind of a psycho. Can they wait? He finds where the car was, finds that they've been losing gas. Once again, or maybe that was just oil, I guess. Another gas station at night. he's watching over them, making them sort of, they have to bust open one of the things so they could pump the gas. And so there's a dog barking, Emmett goes and basically shoots the dog. You don't see it, but trigger warning. And while he's doing it, Gilbert, again, he's playing it cool. He's smart. Takes a ring off his finger, leaves it there on the pump. It's found the next day by the gas station owner, who is also upset at his dog being killed. And this is the fellow that's doing most of the chasing at this point. Sees the ring. Radio back to headquarters. Okay, we got a better idea what's going on with these guys. So finally this night that they're camping, Roy's had enough. He goes, that's it. That's it. I can't take any more. Gilbert's like, come on, man, don't do it. Yeah, I'm going to do it. And so while Emmett appears to maybe be asleep, Roy's watching him. He's not moving. Looking at those eyes that are always open. They make a break for it. They're camping by this airfield. The two go running off. The car behind them. There's Emmett. And he captures them. And Roy kind of breaks down at this point. So this is important for Emmett because he knows this is the weak link. This is the guy I'm going to pick on. So the next day, the car has had some trouble and it's lost its gas. They were at this well trying to get water. And again, he's acting, maybe I'll throw you guys down this well. I mean, he's definitely getting to the point where he's getting tired of them. But guess what? No gas. The car can't operate anymore. All right, we're going by foot. So now it goes to them walking across the desert on foot. Helicopter going overhead. They hit the ground. Another time. And this time, Roy, again, he's losing it. As Emmett just watches on kind of laughing, he's screaming at this helicopter or airplane above, why don't you see us? Why don't you see us? And collapses. Gilbert has to pick him up. But their car has now been found. They know they're going cross country. They're going through these reeds under this bridge. And at this point, Emmett decides, yeah, you're about the same size I am. Let's change clothes. See, people are looking for Emmett Myers. They know what he's dressed in. He wants to change clothes with this guy so that maybe if some shooting starts, he's the one who gets shot. Why pick on Roy? Because frankly, Gilbert's probably the same size too, because Roy's losing it and he knows it and he wants to torment this guy. He hates him. Off they go. They finally hit the outskirts of Santa Rosalia. They go to this bar and find out that the ferry has burned. There's no way across the river. Well, maybe, you guys are fishermen. You want to go out on the, okay, I know somebody with a boat. They talk to a guy who can get him there. Of course, initially, Emmett's like, holy crap. And Roy's like, you bastard. He's enjoying it. So they talk to this guy. Yeah, I know a friend. We can have him do this, yada, yada, yada. They pay him some money, obviously, not out of Emmett's pocket, but out of Gilbert's. And he says, we'll wait, by the seaside away until it's time, until that night. And once again, he just utter contempt for these men. And even Gilbert at this point has kind of had enough of this shit. As they listen to him, you're weak, And Roy, though, finally, without that gun, you're nothing. You're nothing. So he's turned it back on him. You think we're nothing because we have wives, kids, etc. You're nothing. And without that gun, you're really nothing. He doesn't like that. So our Mexican friend, who is going to get the boat fixed up for him, while he's at, I think it was the bank, or maybe it was like a grocery, sees the wanted poster, contacts the authorities. Okay, so we get to the final here. It's night. They're going down to the docks. He's having Roy walk in front because he's dressed like Emmett Myers. And it's really tense. And Roy a lot of shadow, really well filmed. Roy's making his way down, and the authorities are, in fact, waiting. And they finally make their move, and Roy is yelling, I'm not him, I'm not him, don't shoot me. Gilbert wrestles Emmett for the gun, and initially doesn't get it away from him, finally does. And Emmett, now without the gun, unable to be the bully, is suddenly kind of stunned and runs, and the authorities catch him. And suddenly this guy that's had this look of hate, this look of contempt, this smug confidence is nothing. And they get the handcuffs on him, and he's completely lost. He's completely lost it. Tries to struggle to get away. Roy emerges from the shadows and just takes a couple shots at Emmett, like they pull him off. He's definitely suffered the most through this. And, but the two friends walk away following along the police who have taken Emmett into custody. And that's the end of the film. It's not a big budget film. I wouldn't exactly call it a B picture, but it's a really good movie. Very well directed, very well acted, well written. It maybe lags a little bit at times in the middle, but each set piece serves a purpose. You're learning about these people. You're seeing what they're going through, the pressure, the tension. Nice that it's shot where it's shot. Deserts, bleak, hot, dusty, the sweat works for this kind of movie really well. But it's a psychological portrait of these men, not just the bad guy, but the good guys too. One being weaker than the other and seeing what makes them so, what they have at stake. It's a survival picture. Can they get through it? And really, it's a matter of, if they break, Emmett kills them, right? They've got to hold it together the best they can. Can they hold it together long enough? And once they get where they're going, can they find a way to get away from this guy? Tallman is friggin' great as Emmett. He's evil, and he plays it amazing. If all of you have ever seen him do is play Hamilton Berger, losing cases to Perry Mason, watch this film. You're going to be amazed at what this guy can do. Much better actor than you would ever get from Perry Mason. Nothing wrong with Perry Mason, but it doesn't provide Tallman with the material to do a whole lot with. Mostly just him going, Perry, I got you this time. And then, oh, darn it, I've lost again. So, and Ida Lupino, good director. She does a bunch of movies that are more emotional dramas, but she brings that into this film because obviously, okay, it's sort of an action-y film. There's some gunplay, etc. It's really an emotional film too. Okay, so it's men going through these emotional things rather than women. We're not that different. Emotion's emotion. I think a man can watch a drama about women and can somewhat connect if he'll let himself. And women can obviously watch this and connect with these guys who are just being put through the ringer, going down south on the worst road trip ever. So, The Hitch-Hiker, great film, well shot. Maybe not a cinematographic. Is that right? Cinematographic. Yeah, I guess so. Masterpiece, like some of the other stuff that I've shown recently, Screaming Mimi, Gilda, but well shot. It's a lot of outdoors. It's a lot of night scenes, but they do make good use of what they have. But she got a good performance out of these guys. It's a little different too for O'Brien. Often plays a little bit more of a tough guy, sure of himself. Here he's a guy who's just like losing it. He's on the brink by the end of it, terrified he's going to lose his life. And he does a great job with it. So highly suggest you give The Hitch-Hiker a try. 1953, based on a true story, a really great film and well worth your time. So have you seen Hitch-Hiker? What do you think of it? If you have, leave your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear from you, whether they're positive, whether they're negative. Let's get the conversation going. If you enjoyed this review, please think about giving it a like, maybe subscribe to my channel. I do a lot of pop culture reviews, not just movies, also TV, books, comic books, toys, games, all the cool stuff that I love that I filled my little den with. And I like talking about them, and I like talking about them with you. So maybe think of subscribing, maybe share with a friend. Until next time, though, God bless everybody. Please be kind to one another. Try to have a little bit of fun out there, and I'll see you hopefully soon in Dad's Den of Pop Culture. Bye-bye.